Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. It's that time of year again, summer's ending, school's coming down the pike. It's time to build a brand new PC to carry you through the next school year. It's a great time to do so given the fact that GPU prices have fallen from their historic highs and now are below MSRP for many models. At the same time, a lot of the components out there are also at their historic lows. So we're gonna go through 3 different builds, one at 1080p, one at 1440p, and one at 4K to get you through the next school year. If you get value out of the video, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. Before that, this video is sponsored by VIP SSD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows 10 licenses and that terrible Activate Windows 10 watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SSD Key, and get a Windows 10 Home or Pro OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 25% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom, you have a fully licensed Windows 10 for a crazy low price, which can be upgraded for free to Windows 11. Use the links in the video description below. Some food for thought if you're considering waiting for next gen hardware. Ryzen 7000 CPUs are going to be DDR5 only. The memory prices are going to go from about $50 for DDR5 16GB kit up to, it looks like, anywhere from double to triple that for a DDR5 kit. Now it's come way down, and hopefully it continues to come way down, but that's more of an expense there. And if you're waiting for RTX 4000 series cards, a little bit of bad news. There's a lot of rumors out there that NVIDIA will push back significant portions of its launch other than the RTX 4090, which we are expecting October 2022. So if you're waiting to buy a $2,500 4090, you're probably still good. But if you were hoping to get a 4080, a 4070, maybe a 4060 Ti, those cards may come into 2023. But of course, all this is rumor, so just take this with a grain of salt. Remember, links for everything are gonna be down in the video description. Check those out. Let's jump into the $600 gaming PC that everybody should build. If you got $600, you're looking for amazing gaming at 1080p, and you're looking for great productivity work, this is the build for you for $600. Starting off, why does it work? It works because we're able to get a great CPU like the Intel i3-10100F for $68. This is a beast with 4 cores and 8 threads for price to performance. You're not only gonna be able to play just about every game out there, you're also gonna be able to do some great productivity work. The great thing about this CPU is it comes with an included box cooler that is absolutely adequate for it. You can, of course, upgrade it, but don't bother spending the money, in my opinion. Now, the one thing about using older Intel locked CPUs is that they lock the memory speed as well, unless you use a B560, Z490, or Z590 motherboard. And comparing the prices of all of them right now, there's a huge fire sale, at least in the US, going on with Z590 and Z490 motherboards. You can find them for as little as $89. These motherboards used to cost a lot, and you would have been crazy to pair an i3 with it, but in this environment, it makes a lot of sense. Rather than buying a B560 motherboard, get this instead. The great thing about going with a Z series motherboard, if they're about the same price as the B560s, is that in the future, if say 2 years from now, you want to drop in an 11600K in here or 11700K and boost up your performance, you can absolutely do that. $89 right now over at Newegg. There are similar deals over at Amazon. I'll include links to several B560, Z490, and Z590 motherboard deals on sale right now. Now that we've got the motherboard that we're looking for and we can use XMP profiles for the memory, let's make sure to get fast modern memory with a 2x8GB kit of DDR4 3200 CL16. And you can get one for about $48 to $60 right now, even an RGB kit for about $60. Take your pick of whichever kit you like. I'll leave links down in the video description to Amazon and Newegg kits that I like a lot, including RGB ones. But the piece de resistance for this build at $600 is getting a Radeon RX 6600, selling for $250 right now. We went with the MSI mech version of this. Great GPU, capable of playing high FPS, 1080p, just about any game, and many of those same games at 1440p. Now, you do have some flexibility here, given that miners are dumping older GPUs on the market. If you needed to come in more around the $450 price point, for instance, you could, of course, go with like a used RX 580. You can find those for about $120 right now on eBay. That would cut off about $120 off this. Or if you want to check out something that's from NVIDIA. I would dodge the RTX 3050 at $329. It's too expensive. But there is the RTX 2060 selling for about $260, same price as the RX 6600. You could, of course, look at a used GTX 1660 Super, a used GTX 1070 as well. Just know that your best price to performance is going to be this card right here, and this mops the floor with any of the other cards I just mentioned. Rounding out the build, let's jump into the PC case. We're looking to spend about $60 to maybe $70 here on something that's inexpensive but has all the fans we need and has decent airflow. Roswell Prism, over at Newegg right now, $60. This comes with 3 included fans. Now just note that the airflow is here on the bottom and it comes up. Don't stick this on a shag rug that's gonna clog that up on the bottom, and it has the PSU bay on the top. It's got a little bit of RGB to it, 4 included RGB fans for $60. That's really hard to beat. Of course, some other cases that I've often mentioned about the same price point, Zalman S2, the tempered glass version of this comes with 3 included fans. Now 2 of those are Molex. That doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, you can certainly replace those fans at some point in the future. You can also look at the Zalman S3. It's basically the same case, different front, has a little bit more of a kind of sleeker, businessy look than the other one, but both are really good airflow cases, and for $60 from Amazon, really hard to beat. Some components are as cheap as they've ever been, and that's certainly the case for M.2 NVMe storage. SSDs, $38 right now for silicon power, 512 gigabyte. That is an absolute steal. You can, in fact, even find 1 terabyte drives if you want to move up to 1 terabyte for like almost $70. So not even double this price, which is absolutely insane, given that even when SATA drives were at their cheapest, they were never this cheap. This is totally insane. And again, your job out there is simply to find, at the budget level, the cheapest M.2 NVMe drive that you can. And I'll leave a link to several down in the video description that often trade places with being the cheapest. The great thing about this build is it does not use a whole lot of power. You can see the estimated wattage here of 291 watts. If we go back to our tried and true power multiplier of 1.5 times what we think the estimated wattage is, that gives us less than 450 watt power supply. So we can grab just about anything. Happens to be right now that the EVGA BR 600 watt is on super sale right now over at Amazon, $42, but there's a number of different PSUs I'll leave linked down in the video description. We could go with something as little as 450 watts. We just want to make sure it's C tier rated or better on the PSU cultist list. If you're confused about how to buy a PSU, check out my PSU buying guide. We go through all of it. So for $600, you're going to get an amazing build that will do just about everything for you, and it's $600. That's incredible. 500 gigabytes of storage. You've got expandability in the future. It comes with 16 gigabytes of relatively fast memory, and it comes with an amazing graphics card that's not going to be superseded by next-gen GPUs for likely more than a year. Now, if I had about $100 more to upgrade this PC, what would I do? Well, for about $715, I would switch platforms to the i3-12100F, which is 12th gen Intel with a great B660 motherboard. You can get the i3-12100F for only $106, and it is quite powerful. It's as powerful as an 11400 or 10400 CPU, and it beats them in gaming in a lot of different games. Of course, if you want to go to the 12100F, know that we do have a full video build guide for the i3-12100F. We go through best motherboards, best graphics cards, everything that you need to know. Check that out. I'll leave a link to that down in the video description. The good news with the i3-12100F is that you can use just about any B660 motherboards. Several of the B660 motherboards do not run, like for instance the i5-12400, at the full frequency. So if you do decide to upgrade the CPU all the way to that, just know that the B660 motherboard is a little bit of a minefield. However, the i3 you don't have to worry about, comes with the included box cooler. In this case, we're going to go ahead and use a motherboard that's about $100. The other upgrade that you can make for not that much more money is you can jump up to an RX 6600 XT for only $300 right now on sale at Amazon. This is the Power Color Fighter version of it. $300 over at Amazon. That's an absolutely incredible deal. Definitely take advantage of it. So if you want to jump up for just about $100 more, you could actually jump up to 1440p gaming for not a lot of money. But what if you want to build an amazing 1440p gaming PC, either Intel or Ryzen, for about $900, $950? Well, you're in luck. Let's check these out. Links to everything, again, down in the video description. Let's go with the Ryzen build. I think the Ryzen build has some advantages just because of the platform. We'll talk about that. Now, the Ryzen 5 5600 just popped back up to $180, had been around around $150. At $150, it's an automatic, absolute automatic buy. Even over the 12100F, I would jump to Ryzen 5600 instead. But at this price, especially if the Ryzen 5600X is anywhere close to it, you can also consider the 5600X. Very, very slight performance difference. The strength of the Ryzen platform, though, it's the motherboard selection. You can get a motherboard like the Gigabyte B550M Aorus Pro-P for $110. This is a great gaming motherboard because it's got upgraded audio, it's got great VRMs on it. You can upgrade this CPU to a 5950X later on down the track and not have to worry about it. That is really phenomenal. And the other thing I like about this motherboard is it comes with a ton of rear connectivity to it. Overall, great motherboard. But if you don't like Gigabyte, there's plenty of other B550s in that kind of $120 to $150 range that are absolutely acceptable, that are going to have upgraded audio and upgraded features, whereas the B660 Intel motherboards, yeah, not really as much, but we'll go through a couple that do. For both builds, we're going to go with the id Cooling SE214 XT. This is a great budget cooler for about $20, $25. ARGB, just your regular budget tower air cooler with 4 heat pipes, absolutely all you need for either build to get the maximum performance and reduce the noise. Similar to the previous builds, we're going to go DDR4 3200CL16, and we're going to go a 2x8 gigabyte kit now. Just know that if you get up to like an RTX 3080 or so, it would make a little bit of sense maybe to increase the memory speed to 3600 instead, but for right now with the GPUs that we're using, this obviously makes a lot more sense for the price. We're going to stick it out with the same class of drives as we did for the 1080p build. Again, storage is so cheap right now. SSD storage is so cheap. Just get the cheapest NVMe out there. Doesn't really help for gaming to get a faster drive. Now, if you're doing heavy video editing or other kind of workloads where you got a lot of writes coming in there in your workload, yes, then upgrade your SSD, but otherwise just go with something like this. But we're going to focus here on the GPU because this is where there is some choice here at the mid-tier that there really wasn't at the budget level. I would definitely go with the RX 6700 XT for $430. Absolutely great GPU, 3-fan GPU, amazing performance. You could also consider the RX 6700. Sapphire is the only one I know that's making that card in the US right now. $379. Does have about 10-15% less performance. Or you could even consider one of the cheaper RX 6750 XT cards that have come down to about the $450, $470 range. Now, if you want NVIDIA, I don't blame you for going for the RTX 3060 Ti. It's got less performance on the rasterization, but if you're going to do a lot of video editing, I would definitely lean towards the 3060 Ti. The encoder's better, and overall, it just works better with a lot of the Adobe software suite. So if that's your main jam, definitely for about $480 is what you're looking to spend for a 3060 Ti. You could even think about reaching up here to an RTX 3070 for about $550. We're going to use the same case that we used previously, $60. Feel free to spend a little bit more on the case if you want. I just think it's such a great deal, or any of the other budget cases we looked at. Your primary focus here is make sure you get enough airflow. For the power supply, we went with the EVGA 650 watt unit. The great thing about Radeon GPUs and the AMD Ryzen CPUs is that together they are relatively low power. So we only have to go for something like 650 watts here. I found this unit $60, fully modular. I believe this is B tier rated. Really, really good unit. So overall, for $950, we get a great build, but let's take a look at what the Intel version of this build would be. So for the Intel version, we finished at $973, a little bit more expensive. That's simply down to the motherboards because the CPU is actually cheaper, although the i5-12400F right now selling for $155, but the difference is the motherboard selection. Remember, we have build guides for the i5-12400 and for the Ryzen 5600. Check both those out. And in the build guide for the 12400, we go through that some of the motherboards, the B660 motherboards at the budget level, do not run the CPU at the full frequency, and it will cost you FPS and performance. So you've got to make sure to get the right boards, and we go through what some of those boards are. If you want better features like upgraded audio on these, then you're looking to spend about $160 on a great board like the MSI Mag Mortar B660 Wi-Fi board. Now, this also has Wi-Fi. The Gigabyte board that we were looking at for the Ryzen build didn't, but again, it's $50 cheaper. That makes a big difference. Even some of the Z690 motherboards have come down. I believe you can get like the ASRock, I think it's the Extreme board for $189, which has even more features on it. But again, we're spending a lot of money now on a motherboard that's not really increasing our performance just to guarantee the same performance we would get with the Ryzen 5600. So you can make the decision either way. I think you're going to be just fine. The rest of the build looks absolutely identical. Still, $973 either way. I don't think you can go wrong, and I think you'd be happy with either one of these, and these are going to last you now and into the future. What about if you want a 4K gaming PC? Well, again, links to all this stuff are going to be down in the video description. Now, one thing you could do on the previous PC, if you just want some more CPU horsepower, remember you could drop in a Ryzen 7 5700X with a slightly better cooler into it, but that's going to be the basis of our first build for $1,385. 5700X, absolutely great processor for $250. We did upgrade the cooler to an id cooling SU226 XT. Got to handle those 8 cores and 16 threads. Got to bring a little bit more cooling to the party here. That's definitely what this does. It's going to keep it nice and cool, nice and quiet. There's also an ARGB version of this for not that much more. I decided, what the heck, let's go ahead and upgrade the motherboard just a little bit to the Gigabyte X570 Aorus Elite. Now, you don't need X570 just for gaming. You certainly could go with the Pro-P for $109 instead, but I figured this is only $129 right now. This motherboard has been on fire sale for several months here in the US. I think Gigabyte's trying to get rid of the rest of the X570s ahead of the launch of the X670 motherboards that we're all expecting for Ryzen 7000. Great motherboard. It's got the same ALC 1200 audio codec. It has PCIe Gen 4 everywhere, not just at the main GPU slot and at the main M.2 slot. So everything here is PCIe Gen 4. Has an absolute ton of connectivity, including it's got the front panel USB Type-C if you get a case with a front panel USB Type-C header on it. $130 is really tough to beat. For the memory, we're going with 16 gigabytes. Now, you could go with 32 gigabytes here, and you can even find 32 gigabyte kits for as low as like $75, even $80. It's absolutely insane, as long as you're willing to go with 3200 CL16. Once you bump up the memory speed, you're spending about another $30-ish. I don't really think it's worth it, but again, if you're going to go with a high-end GPU and you're going to play something like a 1080p, maybe a 3080 or 6900 XT, and you're going to play at 1080p, I would definitely spend the extra $30 on the memory, but we're going to go with this kit instead. I did go ahead and go with a faster Gen 3 drive here. We've got the Western Digital Black SN750. Really nice drive. It was going for $90. In fact, it just bumped up like 2 seconds ago. PC Part Picker updated the prices and now it's $104. But you can find a number of these kinds of drives. I know the Kingston A2000 is out there, the Samsung 970 EVO is out there, and all of those are about anywhere from $90 to $100. That's what I would look to spend if you need that extra speed. Otherwise, just go with a 1 terabyte of a budget NVMe. Now, in this case, I went with the ASRock Radeon RX 6800 XT. Why? Because it's so much cheaper than the 3080 for $639. This is going to give you a ton of performance. And right now, the 6800 XT has absolutely cratered in price this month. Check out our GPU update video. Should go live the day after this one. So make sure you're subscribed for that. We go through the whole GPU market. We talk about where prices are going, but for about $100 more, if you want an RTX 3080 12 gigabyte, you can certainly find them for about $750. I did decide to upgrade the case. I think a real sleeper case is the Deepcool CK560. Full disclosure, Deepcool did send me one of these. Took a look at it. It's a really nice quality case. $89 right now. Now, so many cases out there that I had been recommending, like Fantex P360, Corsair 4000D Airflow case, have absolutely gone bonkers in terms of price. Shipping things across the ocean right now is still super expensive, but the Deepcool case here, this is a real sleeper. 3 ARGB fans in the front. It's got 1 non-RGB nice fan in the rear. Overall, great quality construction. I would definitely check it out if you're looking for a good alternative. And then obviously we need more power for these bigger GPUs, bigger CPUs. We're going to go with an 850 watt 80 plus bronze EVGA B5. This, I believe, is B tier rated, fully modular PSU. Really, really great pickup. We don't need that much power, luckily, for the 5700X and the 6800 XT. Again, AMD is very, very power efficient. So for $80, we're able to use this one. Overall, for just under $1,400, we have a super strong build that will do just about anything you throw at it. High-end video editing, high-end CAD, Blender animation work. This is going to be an absolutely great system for you. Or if you just want to sit there and play games at 4K, you can do it. You know, we're starting to get the price point where you can, of course, wait for the RTX 4080, but you're probably going to be waiting, I'm going to guess, into January for that. So if that's not really acceptable for you, if you got to go to college now, if you want something right now to take with you, this is a really, really good build. Of course, if you want to bring even more power to the table, I would take a look at spending about $1,500 on an i5-12600K build. Now, why does this cost so much more than the previous build? Well, it costs about $100 more, even though we're using the same cooler, we're using the same memory, we're using the same SSD, the same graphics card, the same case, and even the same power supply. That's because the Intel Z690 motherboards are just more expensive if you want decent features and you don't want to just buy a cut rate garbage board. Also, the i5-12600K requires more cooling. Right now, the 12600K is selling for $275. It's got, 6 performance cores, it's got 4 E-cores. It is absolutely great in productivity workloads. The reason I went with the K over the KF, you can save 20 bucks by getting the KF. But if you're going to do video editing work and you're doing a lot of video export, Intel QuickSync will allow the iGPU and your dedicated GPU to work together to export the video even faster. Now, this only pertains to exporting video during the video editing process. It doesn't help during renders. It doesn't help during gaming. That's really it. But $20 when you're spending $1,500 if you're a video editor and you do a lot of heavy exports, might be worth your time. With this, we're also going with the same cooler, id Cooling SE226XT. I love that it comes with the LGA 1700 mounting bracket. Remember, you've got to get one with the LGA 1700 mounting bracket if you want it to work with this motherboard. And I would consider, an all-in-one liquid cooler here, like id Cooling SnowFlow, cut down on the noise a little bit, and it's going to provide plenty of cooling. The motherboard, I went with the ASRock Z690 Extreme. Now, there's a lot of different motherboards you could go with here depending on your local market. It just happens right now that this board is the cheapest in terms of having an amazing feature set. I was previously recommending the Gigabyte Gaming X Z690 because it has a very similar feature set, but that board's back around $220. And honestly, this board comes with Wi-Fi in addition to the upgraded ALC1220 audio codec. It's just a really, really great motherboard for not that much money. Really solid VRMs on this thing. You could, in the future, I guess, if you ever wanted to, put a 13th gen i9 on this thing probably. We don't know just yet. They're not out yet. I can't say that with great certainty, but I have a certain amount of certainty. And it comes with BIOS update, pretty good feature set on the rear I/O panel. Overall, for $196, really nice little Z690 motherboard. So all in total, you're looking at $1,485, just under $1,500. Remember, if you're going to do the 3080 12 gigabyte, add another $100. You could also do the 6900 XT for not that much more as well. It's only another $100. That's probably the way I would lean if you're just gaming. Let me know down in the comments, what are you going to be using your PC for? Are you going to be doing CAD work? Are you going to be doing video editing? Are you waiting for Ryzen 7000? Or are you just saying, heck, I need something, let's build it now? If you got value out of the video, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. If you're wondering about the best CPU and GPU combos for gaming right now, check out this video. We'll go through everything that you need to know to pair the best CPU with the best GPU for your budget. And we'll catch you on the next one.